going first.
Yeah, indeed, he will be going first. Looking at his hand, looks like he has access to the Bridget straight away, so won't even need to, Ultra Ball for a Tapu Lele or anything like that. Just got there, ready to go. And I imagine here he's going to be searching for a couple of Zoras and a Wimpod, or perhaps two Zoras, well, 1 and 2 if he wants to get 2 of each out.
He's going to get some Pokemon. We know that for sure.
Yeah.
And there's no hiding what Azul's playing. Starts that Buzzwole right away. So Martin knows, all right, I got to make sure the Mew is in my deck, the Mewtwo's in my deck, and go from there. And he's like, okay, Mewtwo's prized. I can still make this work. But unfortunately, Bridget can't actually get Mew EX.
No, rather it can, but of course Bridget was printed with a specific clause that if you use it to grab a Pokemon EX, you can only grab one. So if he were to use it to grab the Mew, he would then not be able to grab anything else with it, hence why he's opted to just go for the more regular setup here instead, but get benching 2 Zoras and a Wimpod before passing.
Now, this looks kind of unfortunate because while I was saying before, Buzzwole's a very aggressive deck, and going second's not that bad because Jet Punch does knock out Zoras all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Buzzwole is one of the decks I think I'd say is the most comfortable going second out of most of the popular decks in the meta game. Like, any Zoroark deck really, really wants to go first because being the first to be able to put down your Zoras to evolve them or your backup Pokemon to evolve them is really important. And meanwhile, from Azul's side, it looks like he's actually just going for an Ultra Ball there, discarding 2 supporters.
Yeah, his hand is very supporter heavy. I think I also see a Sycamore as well, but I think I see a Max Elixir. So he's really going to try to take advantage of that and then just Sycamore his hand away.
Yeah, and exactly because of that Max Elixir, it looks like he opts to go for the Buzzwole here. So I imagine if he does indeed have the Sycamore, he'll probably just play the Max Elixir, hope for a hit, and then Sycamore the rest of his hand away. Maybe after attaching the Floatstone to the active so that he can maybe get a Knuckle Impact later on.
Just in case you're 14 energy, you don't hit one off the Sycamore.
Yeah, exactly. So there's the Max Elixir, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Does he hit it? He does.
He definitely got it.
Yes. I think he got 3 energy in that
Yeah.
6 or something like that.
3 and a strong energy, like it's just what you want to see.
Absolutely.
And now with that fighting energy, that means Azul will be right quick out the gates, taking a knockout on the Zorua this turn.
Yeah, he will, and that's going to be absolutely great for him. There's the Floatstone we mentioned, and yep, just Sycamore's away Lycanroc.
Now, one thing he really does want to see is a Rockruff or a Remoraid down, because as you keep taking these prizes, you get very susceptible to N, and then you still want that Lycanroc Bloodthirsty Eyes ability available, even though it's weak to grass.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to have access to that as quickly as possible because being able to bring things up from the bench with Bloodthirsty Eyes is one of the things that makes Jet Punch so great because you can set up the numbers in a more ideal way to pick up knockouts as and when you need them. In the meantime, there goes the Jet Punch, just knocking out the Zoro and putting 30 on the Wimpod.
Yeah, and he actually chooses Wimpod here just because Zorgs are most likely getting evolved. He doesn't play as many Glyspods, so the damage is kind of better pushed there.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, but of course the Zoroarks, even if when they do become Zoroarks from Zoras, they can get knocked out in one hit by Knuckle Impact, whereas without any sort of modifiers. Whereas for the Glycopods, if they weren't previously damaged, then you would need some kind of damage modifiers on your side.
Yeah, and there we see the Zoroark coming down and an Ultra Ball looking for possibly another Zoroark. And oh no, there we go. Tapu Lele. Supporters are a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And looks like that one attack will just grab him a Cynthia there, which he just plays straight away. He will have. But one of the Zoras was benched this turn, of course, because he did have 3 but it's knocked out. So he would like to find one more just so that he can have access to 2 trades maybe this turn. And I think the big thing he's going to want to try and find here is a way to retreat that Zora and attack with the Glycopod. That Zoroark is a little bit vulnerable as it stands right now because Azul would only need 1 Max Elixir and an energy to actually knock it out.
And one thing we actually see in Martin's hand is Enhanced Hammer. It's a card that's been pretty popular in this format just because Double Colorless is so prevalent, Strong Energy is so prevalent, but Azul cutting down on the Strong Energies kind of helps him out a little. Yeah,
it does. It means that Enhanced Hammer is a little less likely to actually be able to be effective for Martin. And there goes the second trade, discarding an N.
Oh, there's Double Puzzle, but he doesn't really have access to get the Zoroark out of the active, so he just attaches.
Yeah, and unless he decides to change something, no, he just goes for the Righteous Beating for 100 damage. So there is an opening for Azul here. If he hits 1 energy and 1 Max Elixir, that Zoroark is gone.
Yeah, if not, though, there is one card that I love in this Zoroark Glyspod deck that we saw with Tord and then we're seeing with Martin, It's that Max Potion.
Absolutely, Max Potion. I think a really inventive tech card for this deck, just being able to heal something off without having to use something like an Acerola. So freeing up your supporter for a Guzma, for example. Well, especially when this might even be a response to the prevalence of Enhanced Hammer, because if you're going to get Enhanced Hammer anyway, then Max Potion is arguably better most of the time because there's no drawback.
And there we see the Guzma bringing up the Zorua. Azul's kind of like, well, I can't take this Zoroark out in one hit. My hand's not set up for max elixirs and all that stuff, so I'm going to take this knockout on Zorua and then just eventually knock out 2 GXs later on.
Yeah, and this is good for him as well because he's already taken a single prize, so by doing this he avoids falling into that 7 prize game trap that we like to talk about sometimes, where you're forced to knock out 3 Pokemon which are worth 2 prizes even though you already knocked out 1, so you're forced to expend more effort to win the game than you really ideally would like.
Yeah, second prize down for Azul, puts the 30 on Gliscopod, but Max Potion might just wipe that all away.
Yeah, I mean, that would be... There might be a decision to hold on it in case he thinks so and isn't worth playing it now, but now with the two Jet Punches done onto it, the 60 damage on it means that now Azul doesn't need any damage modifiers to KO the Gliscopod with Knuckle Impact, for example.
Yeah, and we see Martin looking through his discard. He does have access to those 2 Puzzle Time in his hand, and quite a few resources in his discard as well. I think like 1 of every supporter he plays.
Yeah, so he definitely has options. There goes a trade as well, discarding a Parallel City, deciding that's not going to be much use to him right now. And
he drew another Zoroark, but all the other Zoras got knocked out.
Yeah, they did. Oh, big find for him. If he finds the Mew EX, that's going to be really, really huge. You should be able to maybe...
Well, so he has that Mew, but he has no energy in his hand.
Oh, no, he doesn't. Now, I was wondering if there could have been a possibility for him maybe playing... See, if you could play the Guzma before, and then Guzma into something, bring out the Zoroark, then you could retreat, use the puzzle to get double colors that way, but I don't think that's an option for him right now.
I mean, you could just do the safe play and Guzma the Buzzwole and then knock it out with the Zoroark, but then you kind of leave it active for watch and learn.
Yeah, you can. You do that, and but it looks like that's what Martin's going to have to be content with here. And he's debating on the Max Potion. Does he decide to play it? He does. So that Gliscopod is now fresh again.
And that's a very good information for Azul going forward to the next games. Just knowing your opponent has a Max Potion and then has access to puzzle it back too.
Yeah, because that's one of those things where, as Azul, you're looking at it thinking, oh, okay, that's something I've got to be mindful of in future now. I don't want to try and set up a number thinking that it's going to be safe, and then all of a sudden Max Potion is gone.
So I actually like Martin not benching that Mew. It's only 120 HP, so it's very fragile, especially against a deck that hits as strong as Buzzwole Lycanroc. And it also gives you a bench space, like maybe he ends you and you need a Tapu Lele to kind of dig out of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It makes sense to hold on to it for now. Maybe even just for the fact that now Azul doesn't know that Martin has that threat available. He'll be expecting Martin to play it, but at the same time, if Martin could just bench it out of nowhere, take a surprise knockout, maybe even copying Gliscopod's first impression with the Grass Energy in his hand, for example. Yeah. That's an option that's available to him as well.
There we see the Cynthia after the energy and the Choice Band coming down on the Sudowoodo. So right now with Riotous Beating, it's doing 110 damage, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is enough damage to take a knockout on Zoroark.
Yes, indeed, because we'll of course do that fighting type in double for weakness and take the KO. So very, very strong play from Azul for this turn, and after this, he will only be 2 prizes away from winning. And
he actually gets the Remoraid off the Cynthia too, with the Octillery in hand.
It's fantastic. So now he's going to be even more potentially more safe from N as well. So really, really strong turn for Azul. Now he's just looking through just to determine if there's anything else he wants to do before going ahead with this watch and learn. Now he's going to take a quick look at his discard pile as well, just make sure there's nothing else that he needs to consider before going through this. He should be pretty safe. Of course, one of the big advantages of Sudowoodo is that it is only worth 1 prize when KO'd. It's one of the big appeals of it, is that you can do big damage with it, whilst at the same time only giving up 1 prize when it eventually goes down, because it does only have 90 HP, so it will go down quickly.
Yeah, I found it out the hard way. But Ultra Ball getting the Rock Ruff, setting up a Bloodthirsty Eyes for next turn, because remember, after this knockout on the Zoroark, he just needs 1 GX knockout and takes the game. And if Martin doesn't find a way to turn on first impression, he might have to attack with Mew or with Zoroark, and those are kind of not good against these fighting Pokemon.
No, absolutely not ideal in the slightest. And I think you can tell from Martin's body language a little bit, he's kind of recognizing the tricky spot he's in, because he still has 4 prizes left to take. He knows that there's a lot of threats on Azul's side that could just make him win the game instantly. I mean, he's going to play it out here. He's got the access to Mew, like we've already said. I don't believe he has access to a Guzma, although there is an Ultra Ball in his hand which could get a Tapu Lele for one if he sees fit. But then...
Yeah, and that Enhanced Hammer is still stuck in his hand as well. And Floatstone is a key card.
Yeah, so that's a really good find for him. He will be able to use that to attach to the active and then retreat and trigger that extra first impression damage, whether he does that with the Mew or the Golisopod. But yeah, you just have to imagine that Azul's pretty safe here, generally speaking. We feel pretty confident that he's going to be able to take this game. In fact, there goes a Wonder Tag for an N.
Well, again, the whole point is if you can actually get the energy to charge up your attackers. This deck is so fast, and a lot of the times you kind of get like tunnel vision, and like, all right, I got 3 energy on a Buzzwole, I'm going to Knuckle Impact or Absorption, but then you have nothing else set up on your bench, and then you get caught where it's like, my opponent does play a Surprise Mew, and then I'm left with nothing, and it takes 2 turns to try to get set up again.
Yeah, absolutely. And this N here is going to be the way that Martin really sort of tries to capitalize on that, just because he knows that he's got the K on Sudowoodo. That's fine. He's got an Ultra Ball as well, and he's going to finally discard that Enhanced Hammer, deciding that it's not going to be much use to me. But when he's able to KO the Sudowoodo, Azul will go down to 2. He doesn't have the Octillery out yet. The fact that he has the Remedy out means that he could maybe access it, so that makes it a bit better. But the fact that Azul's going to have to work for that now means that he hasn't got that solidified win that he had before.
Yeah, well, having those 2 prizes means that an N to 2, he still can draw an Ultra Ball for and out for Octillery, and that's probably your best hope.
Yeah, definitely. So, and that's one of the other really cool things that when you notice that a lot of the really good players do, is that they'll intentionally try to take prizes instead of always going for the knockout which yields the most prizes. They'll go for the one which maybe evens out their prize count again, so that when they're in the late game they can still draw 2 off an N, which means that the third they draw for turn will be enough to pay that cost for Ultra Ball and get an out.
All right, there we see the N. That's actually a pretty good 4 cards for Martin there.
Yeah, definitely. He's got the second Golisopod if he wants to evolve that next turn. He's got a Guzma ready in his hand and a Tapu Lele, although I imagine that would just be trade fodder, and yes, indeed, it just does get discarded for that.
And I think I see he drew the Mallow as well.
He did, indeed. There goes first impression, knocking out the Sudowoodo. Now,
and Azul drew the Octillery for the turn.
Oh my goodness. And he's got Brooklet Hill as well, so he can thin the deck out for one more card. Martin's not going to be happy to see that.
Oh, no, not at all.
It looks like he's going for a second Remoraid as well, just maybe next turn he was able to find another Octillery, just draw even more, and just see everything he needs to seal out this game once and for all.
Well, essentially, this Brooklet doesn't really matter. Your 2 win conditions on board are Buzzwole and then the Rockruff. Like, I think his game plan would honestly be Dangerous Rogue at this point, not using the GX attack all game, and with your opponent having a full bench. It's kind of like the big threat looming. Yeah,
and he could do it this turn as well, in theory. If he hits a Max Elixir before he evolves to Lycanroc and then gets the energy in the Lycanroc, that's it right there. So I imagine that's probably one of the outs he'll be looking for to try and seal this. Oh, but he has got strong energy onto the Buzzwole, and is that Abyss time for the full 5? It is.
5, yeah.
Fantastic.
Choice Band, I don't think I see a Max Elixir, but he still has his supporter for the turn.
He does indeed, and that is a Sycamore, so going to be drawing a lot of cards here. Like we've already mentioned, his basic energy count's pretty high, so if he hits a Max Elixir, chances are that he'll actually be able to use it. But, oh, I don't think he drew one.
Instead, I think he drew all his energy.
Oh dear. That's the wrong way around.
And I don't think... Oh, no, there is an Ultra Ball, so he does have access to a Lycanroc if he chooses.
Yeah, but that's unfortunate. With no Max Elixir.
That's not enough damage.
No, it's absolutely not. So Azul's got a bit of a decision here. He's, I mean, he won't lose the game this turn. Obviously, Martin has 3 more prizes left to take still because Azul was able to sort of force the knockout on that Sudowoodo. But yeah, there's a consideration from Azul's side as to what you actually send up. It looks like Tapu Lele is what he's going to go for, and he just announces pass.
This does open him up to a Guzma play from Martin, though, triggering the first impression again and exposing the Buzzwole.
Yeah, the one saving grace for Azul is that if Martin does that, he won't be able to take a one-hit knockout. There's nothing on Martin's side which can do 190 damage in one go.
That is true.
But you can take out the Rock Ruff just to take that threat away, for example, or you can even just take out the Regirock with Goliath if he wants 2 easy prizes, although I doubt that's the route that he'll take, because that doesn't really take away the threats.
Well, remember, he is at 3 cards,
yeah.
So if he could just hold off Azul for like 1 turn, essentially.
I think that's always the question. Is it possible for him to take a knockout on something easy while simultaneously holding off? Because the biggest threat right now is that Buzzwole is only 1 energy away from being able to wreak absolute havoc on anything Martin puts out. And I think that's the biggest worry for him. 210
damage with a Knuckle Impact. There's the Mallow. He does have the 4th puzzle in his deck and another Enhanced Hammer.
Oh, that is absolutely huge.
So we've been talking about how Azul's kind of like had this draw where Enhanced Hammer has just been negated. But right now, it's going to swing the matchup for Martin, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This is absolutely key here. And the fact that he still has access to that Enhanced Hammer, and granted, even if he didn't have one in the deck, he would have found a second puzzle and could have puzzled back the one he discarded earlier. But yeah, no, absolutely. Now, this is kind of the way Azul's able to deal with the threats and sort of stop himself from losing. Maybe buy himself that turn, like you said, that vital 1 extra turn he needs to take 2 knockouts instead of just 1 and then eventually lose.
It'll be interesting to see if he actually can get the double colorless and choice band as well. The crossing cut, take a knockout on this Tapu Lele.
Yeah, potentially that would be good for him. He was, I mean, I imagine given that he went for the 2 puzzles of time, that's probably what he's going to go for. And you see, he puts the Enhanced Hammer to the front.
I don't know if I see a choice band in his discard though.
Do you think is that possibly? Do you think maybe he thought he had one but just didn't realize possibly? Or well, that's the Enhanced Hammer in any case. So Strong Energy gets discarded. Yeah. There's a Golisopod. Yeah, what's he gonna go for with these 2 puzzles of time? I don't believe that Wimpod was benched this turn, right?
No, it was last turn.
Oh, it was okay, so that's fine. Yeah, you can tell he's really agonizing over this decision. He actually just opts to not use
First
the puzzles.
impression for 30.
Wow. Okay. So Martin clearly.
So this kind of gives Azul an extra turn, whereas if he had the choice band double colorless, it would have just put Azul like, all right, you need max elixir, you need an energy, and a Lycanroc now.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like Martin, instead of that Enhanced Hammer buying him a turn to go into the driver's seat, it's kind of just buying him a turn to not lose straight away, almost. And I mean, granted, that's still helpful. And if Azul is forced to attach another Strong Energy, then of course we know that Martin can follow up with another Enhanced Hammer from that double puzzle. But it does mean that Azul has a little bit more time to work with than we thought he might have done otherwise.
Yeah, and now he gets that second Octillery in play, but I'm wondering what his count of Floatstone is left. I know there was 1 on the Buzzwole that got knocked out earlier, and then he has 2 in play.
He does, and there goes the Abyssal Hand for 1.
And
Guzma does
N.
win the game for him, but yeah, that's an N is not a Guzma. He does just play the N.
Well, I think he had the Guzma, but he didn't have a way to actually take a knockout. Because he already attached for the turn.
Oh yeah, and he hasn't seen a Max Elixir yet, has he? So, yeah. Has he been through all his Max Elixirs already? He's played a couple.
He has 1 or 2 left. But I think only 1 or 2 fighting in the deck left as well.
Yeah, not ideal. And of course, he won't be able to get a 1-hit knockout with the Buzzwole onto the Golisopod either, because he's already done his manual attachment, and of course Max Elixir can't attach special energy. So, he does have the Max Elixir in his hand now. Let's see, is he able to find one of these 6?
He does, but they're attached to the Rock Ruff, and yeah, he's actually 10 short because of the Regirock on the knockout from this Golisopod.
Oh my goodness. It's very unfortunate.
And yeah, we'll probably just see another pass.
Yeah, we will. Now, back to Martin's side. And the unfortunate thing for him right now is that there's no special energy on his other side of the board. He can't follow up with... I mean, the puzzles got end away anyway, but if he'd still kept them, that isn't an option he could have done to buy himself another turn again. Azul will be able to access an Knuckle Impact next turn, and if Martin can't deal with that, then Azul's going to win this game.
Yeah, it's looking like the writing is on the wall. This Buzzwole just needs another energy, and if Martin wants, he's kind of in a rock and a hard place where he needs to take this knockout to make the game close because he's at 3 prizes instead of 2. But he also needs Azul not to have the energy. But we know he has that strong energy in hand, and that's enough to take a knockout on Golisopod with Knuckle Impact.
And yeah, just making sure.
Double checking. You never want to lose because you counted wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But no, you haven't counted wrong, Azul. That is absolutely correct. Knuckle Impact will take the knockout, and Azul will take game 1.
Man, what a game.
Yeah, that was really, really incredible. And it really shows you what we were talking about earlier about how close this actually is as a matchup. So, at one point, at multiple points, it was very much back and forth. Really could have gone either way. Both these players obviously very, very skilled. They know how to play their matchup properly as well. And it really just those tiny little swings in the end, which made it so that it was able to swing in Azul's favor.
Yeah, and it's just interesting how Martin did not use Mew or Mewtwo that game.
No, he didn't, and maybe that's something for him to consider for Game 2. Is right, but did I actually use those the most effectively I could? Because there was the option there at one point for him to use it, but then he decided to hold it. I don't think he could have attacked it that turn exactly, but the fact that he wasn't able to use it at all, he must be thinking next time maybe I don't want to be a bit more proactive with it. I've got to be a bit careful because it has got a lot of HP.
Well, hey, it's going to be a nice surprise Game 2 if he just busts it out and takes a knockout on Buzzwole.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the one thing which is helpful for him, is that he still has that surprise factor with it. Even though Azul will probably know he's playing it, the sort of the mental trigger is still not there to make him think, there's something I've got to be afraid of, because it's not something that Martin's actually put into effect yet.
Yeah, and this Buzzwole Lycanroc deck is one of, I think, the most popular deck between the American players that traveled down here, at least from talking with everyone.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard to go wrong with it, isn't it? Just by the very nature of what a strong deck it is. Very consistent, very powerful. Now, going into Game 2, looking at the prizes, it's like 1 each of Zoroark and Golisopod from Martin's side. Nothing too drastic otherwise. And then on Azul's side,
you got that 1 Mew again, and a strong energy. Remember, that means he only has 2 in his deck now.
Yeah, that's actually way more impactful to him than it would be for perhaps other variants playing the more traditional energy count. But in any case, we're off with Game 2, and Martin with another very strong start.
Looking at Azul's hand, it's a bunch of energy and a Sycamore and like an Octillery.
Oh dear, that's no good. Meanwhile, from where Martin was able to, well, this time his Mewtwo isn't prized. He did consider getting it, but opted to, again, hold back on that just for now. So clearly still on this more sort of laid-back strategy of trying to not hide, but, he holds his cards a bit closer to his chest on this Mewtwo option. And lots of supporters other than that.
Oh yeah, his next turn is going to be great, having access to Ultra Ball and a Cynthia, possibly.
Yeah, it's definitely going to look good for him.
Azul did actually draw that Buzzwole, which makes his hand pretty good.
Yes, it does. That's an ideal top deck from Azul's side. He's able to get the fighting energy on, and after Sycamore as well, drawing a fairly decent hand. He's got a second Buzzwole, he's got a Max Elixir and an Ultra Ball. It's actually decent.
Yeah, we're going to see Ultra Ball either getting Rockruff or the Remoraid. I would hope so. Oh, no, the Mew.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't tricked by Martin. He's like, I know you play Mew. I know you play Mewtwo. You have to play something. So I'm going to get this so I can cover my bases.
Yeah, definitely. And like with many other great sort of supporting attackers, one thing that's really lovely about Mew is that because it has a 0 retreat cost, it's a great pivot Pokemon, something that you can just send up no matter at any point, just to say, right, I need some time to look at my draw for turn and just decide what the most optimal play is.
He did miss that Max Elixir, unfortunately. And there's the Jet Punch taking the first knockout again. These Zorwas are dropping down like flies.
Yes, absolutely. A little bit very similar start to the first game where, even though the Buzzwole deck is going second, being able to do that Jet Punch turn 1, take a knockout on Zora is very, very effective. Now, from Martin's side, he was able to find himself what looks to be, is that Tapu Lele in his hand? So
it might be the Mew. No,
the Mew's in the prizes. So,
yeah.
So Tapu Lele will be what he goes for. There's a Wonder Tag. He's going to search his deck for. Oh, looks like to be a Mallow.
Well, hey, he has Ultra Ball. He has everything in his hand.
Yeah, and he's got enough cards to work with so that he can Ultra Ball stuff away and then discard something else and not play out his entire hand to do this really cool Mallow plus Zoroark GX combo where you can... It's essentially like searching your deck for 2 cards.
Well, so he has the double colorless and he has the Float Stone in hand. So Ultra Ball for the Zoroark and then Mallow for the Mew, and you don't even need another Pokemon.
No, you don't. Absolutely, because they 100 already doubles weakness and get to, so actually...
And this is where I think Azul's just seeing the future and using that, getting that Mew just so you're like, well, it's going to probably happen.
Yeah, it is very, very well foreseen. So, yeah, now Martin gets the Zoroark. He'll be able to evolve. Then there goes the Mallow. And, yeah, like you said, he'll be able to do trade and find the exact 2 pieces he needs. Probably, the Mew and... is there anything else he needs to go for? He has the Float Stone and a double colorless.
Yeah, he does. So maybe another Zoroark. Maybe... Like, his hand's pretty set.
He might even just consider going for something for next turn because he'll have to play out the rest of his hand to do this play, essentially. He has Float Stone and double colorless and then a Cynthia, but he'll have to discard the Cynthia in order to draw the other 2 cards.
Oh, you're right.
So the numbers could be potentially a little bit awkward here.
So maybe get like a Sycamore for next turn.
Yeah, and he got it a little bit too quickly. I didn't quite see what he got there, but well, I mean, we'll see it inevitably in a bit anyway. But yeah, he had to be a little bit careful there, just not get too overeager and get something which meant that next turn he'll be left with nothing.
Well, hey, you still got Zoroark. Zoroark's never nothing.
Yeah, that's true. When you got trades, who needs other cards? But yeah, there it is.
It looks like he actually got the other Zoroark.
Yeah, so just setting up even more trades for next turn. There is the Mew, and Versatile copying the Riotous Beating, taking a 1-hit knockout onto the Buzzwole, and really, really strong, much stronger counterattack from Martin in this game.
So now Azul's really trying to dig. He needs that Choice Band to actually take a knockout with Jet Punch on this Mew EX.
And it looks like he's found it, actually.
He actually got the Choice Band and a Max Elixir as well.
Ooh.
And a Rockruff.
Like, it's a super, super strong Sycamore, so... And he's got 2 Rockruffs, in fact. God, that's exactly what Azul would have wanted to see off of that Sycamore. That is fantastic.
And you can see how these tech Psychic Pokemon in Mew and Mewtwo really just make this matchup a little bit back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if it's only one person taking for the other person, then that one tech can sometimes run through and kind of you can kind of run away with the game like that. But both these players are skilled enough to be aware that they need to be not only prepared for a counter, but prepared for a counter to their counter, because they know that other players will be skilled enough to recognize that those threats are present and prepare accordingly.
And there you have it. Azul's down to 3 prizes now to Martin's 4. And he actually drew Cynthia off the prizes for his turn. Didn't matter anyway.
No, it didn't matter anyway. It was. I mean, even if you didn't, it's like you said, if you got access to trade, you don't always necessarily need a supporter regardless. So, it's chances are that's going to work out well for you no matter what. Be interesting to see what he gets off to Cynthia though.
He does get the double colors, so he can choose to knock out the Mew with a Zoroark or even Tapu Lele if he wants to. Evo Soda as well, but with Wimpod active, First Impression doesn't really activate. No,
it's one of those unfortunate things where the Golisopod has to be on the bench and become active in order for the extra damage from First Impression to kick in. So there's a slight wording technicality means that, because originally I think some people thought, if it becomes active by evolving from the Wimpod during that turn, it still counts, but it doesn't.
No, not at all. There is the trade. I believe he also has the Mewtwo from Evolutions in his hand as well.
Also, maybe you could just use that. There's a Parallel City that could be played as well. Maybe could limit Azul to 1 Rockruff instead of 2. He could even discard the Tapu Lele, although then with the Mew getting inevitably KO'd, that would mean he has no pivot to work with in terms of the free retreater, but that is what he goes for.
It's actually very nice because Martin had the Field Blower in hand. So he kind of like, all right, well, I guess I'll keep the Tapu Lele because it's Float Stone. But then he goes, all right, Field Blower, and then knock out the Mew. He's kind of left stuck.
So I actually ended up working out well regardless. And the Mewtwo does get put onto the bench, but it will just be a Riotous Beating from Martin, taking a knockout onto the Mew.
Yep.
And
Mewtwo's a lot less of a liability than Mew EX.
Yes, absolutely.
But it also doesn't do enough damage.
No, it doesn't. It has 10 more HP, though. It has 10 more HP, and it gives up 1 less price.
All right, there's the max elixir, and oh, the last card.
Ooh, close one. But he was able to find it, which is good for him. That extra basic energy perhaps being the difference between hitting that and not.
Yeah. And we might even see a dangerous rogue come down this turn.
Oh, no, that'd be something. Oh, Mew goes down as well. And is that Sycamore?
Cynthia.
Cynthia, okay.
Now, again, Azul does need a lot right now.
He certainly does. I mean, he's got the max elixir down, so that helps him somewhat at least. He would need 1 energy, but then the Lycanroc itself. I mean, it's kind of reasonable, I guess, to see that off of Cynthia for 6. It's not the most unlikely. I guess the only other consideration is whether he thinks to himself after doing that, what do I follow up with? Because, I mean, I guess at the same time, Martin doesn't really have anything that can take a backup knockout if this does happen.
To be fair, Martin's hand is pretty good right now. I think I saw double puzzle and a Glycopod.
No, so that's very strong indeed. And actually, it looks like Azul did not find it. He has a max elixir, which he could play to get second energy, but no way to access a Lycanroc. Unfortunate for him.
That's not what you want to see, especially since it's tied up 3-3 right now.
Yeah, if he was able to take a knockout here, he'd cement himself in a pretty good position to win as it stands. Yeah, like you said, with Martin's monster hand, he could just maybe even take a knockout here and then find himself well on his way to winning. He could even, I'm not sure if he has access to puzzles, but if he did, he could maybe even find puzzle, get Mew double colorless and just knock out a Boswell with a Guzma for the win.
Yeah, well, Martin actually has 2 puzzle of time in his hand right now. Yeah.
So there you go. That option's open to him already. And although he wouldn't win the game straight away by doing that, he at that point, Azul was basically left with two Rockruffs and a Mew, which is not really ideal. And looks like it's just going to be a Jet Punch from Azul.
All right, and now it's on Martin. His hand, like we've been saying, is amazing from here.
Yeah, he's got the 2 puzzles at a time. And he's got access to an enhanced hammer, but once again, not very useful in this exact situation, given that Azul's been very cleverly conservative with how he's played a strong energy. I think I have to give credit there to him recognizing that he doesn't want to get punished by cards like enhanced hammer, and that again factors into his decision to only play 3 strong energy in the first place.
There's the first trade. Double colorless energy off the top along with the N. N could be a card that's pretty good right now just because Azul doesn't have access to Octillery.
No, he doesn't, so the N would be a lot more effective than it perhaps usually would be. Now, what's he getting off this double puzzle? Yeah, he's going for the Mew, and it looks to be Acerola.
Oh, that's dangerous.
That is super strong, because not only does that mean, I mean, he had the double colors in his hand anyway, but if he didn't, that would have been a way for him to get it, because he could just pick up the Zoroark in the active and get the double colors back off that way. So he's going to do some trades first, make sure that he's done the maximum amount possible just to get rid of any non-useful cards in his hand. But yeah, up comes the Mew, double colorless goes on, and that's a knockout. Yeah,
we see how powerful Mew EX is in this matchup, and how it takes a game that is usually not in your favor, and if you can get this chaining of Mew EX going, then I honestly don't see a way you can really lose.
No, definitely not. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're giving up 2 prizes on an easy knockout if you're taking 2 prizes in return every single time, right? So that's kind of why Mew, the investment is seen as worth it, because you're trading so efficiently that it just doesn't even matter.
All right, Martin down to 1 prize card now.
And what can Azul do? He's got a Floatstone for the active Rockruff, but not much else other than that. I mean, his hand, I believe there was a couple of supporters in there, but not enough to do much.
So the dream, all right? He plays this N, puts Martin down to 1, hits the Lycanroc energy to Dangerous Rogue the Zoroark away, to take away any possibility of trade. That's the dream.
That's what's got to be done. Can he find 3 cards? He needs energy, Lycanroc, or energy. Does he play Evo Soda? Would that be enough for him? Yeah, he does, doesn't he?
Oh
no, he wouldn't do what I was saying. No, of course. Why do you play Evo Soda and puzzle? I'm thinking of Zoroark too much, obviously, but yeah, no. So in that case, he would need to draw the actual Lycanroc plus an energy. He couldn't Ultra Ball because he's drawing 3 cards, so there wouldn't be enough fodder in his hand.
All right, here we go. 3 cards from Azul. I see an energy, but I think it's a Buzzwole, not a Lycanroc.
Oh, yes, indeed. It's fighting Pokemon, but it's the wrong one, so a big miss for Azul. And you got to think now Martin should be able to... Yeah. Azul just concedes, and we will be moving on to Game 3.
And we actually have a little bit of time left, too. We got just under 15 minutes to go, and both of these decks are pretty fast once they get going.
Yeah, and both these players have been playing at a pretty reasonable pace as well, so I feel fairly confident that we'll see a winner at the end, although, I mean, you never know what could end up happening. There might be something completely crazy that ends up prolonging the game, but yeah, and once again, proving the back and forth between the two matchup. I mean, how close have both of these games been?
Oh, yeah, it's been intense, especially this game with MewEX coming back from the discard to take another 2 prizes off Buzzwole.
And this goes exactly back to what we were saying at the beginning of Game 2, where we thought, right, does Martin need to change his strategy up a little bit and maybe try and make more use of that Mew? And he did exactly that, and because of that, he won. Yeah,
and honestly, pretty decisively, too. Like, there was a little window for Azul, but that whole game essentially is like, yeah, I got this. Mew has this.
Yeah, definitely. Now, it'll be interesting for this game because this will be the first game in the series where Azul's able to go first. So
that's right.
Yeah, so because Martin, of course, went first game 1, but lost and went first game 2. So there won't be any sort of turn 1 Jet Punch shenanigans knocking out Azora straight away. There'll be
turn 2 Jet Punch shenanigans knocking out Zora.
Yeah, potentially, but then at that point. Oh no, I guess it's the same, isn't it? Because it still won't be. Martin still won't be able to evolve them. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's probably the best possible scenario if you have to go to a Game 3 for Azul.
Yeah, no, definitely. Now let's see. Martin's putting out his prizes here. What's he got? Oh,
like Mew and Mewtwo in the prizes.
Unreal.
What?
Oh, Martin's not going to be happy about that when he sees that.
Oh no, that's heartbreaking.
That is absolutely heartbreaking. I just kind of want to look out for his facial reaction when he looks through his prizes and sees that. And but the Mew is actually prized from Azul's side as well.
Well, he does play 2.
He does play 2. Okay, yeah. So I mean, that makes him a bit better then. But no, from Martin's side.
And wow, Azul's hand is explosive right now. There's 2 Max Elixirs, Ultra Ball, and even a Float Stone. I think there's an N and a Strong Energy as well.
Good grief. This is going to be a very, very fun turn 1 for Azul.
Unfortunately, I don't think he could play everything in his hand because of the Ultra Ball discard. He might have to sacrifice Float Stone and Choice Band.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's opted for, unfortunate. But when the rest of your hand is that strong, I mean, do you even mind that much?
Oh, not at all.
No. Especially because the Buzzwole Lycanroc decks, they normally tend to play very high counts of both of those tools regardless. So just being able to get all the energy on straight away early on, it makes it worth that sacrifice. Absolutely. And he's starting Rockruff as well, which is always absolutely fine to lead with.
Yeah, it kind of saves your Buzzwole for a little bit. And then when Martin finds out he doesn't have Mew or Mewtwo, it's even better.
Yeah, absolutely. There goes Max X number 1. Keep track at home, folks. There it is.
The card is just so good. Even I've had so many times where I'm just mad because I missed it. How can I miss this? I play 14 energy. What's going on? But then when you get the energy off, it's too easy.
Too easy. And speaking of too easy, Azul is 2 for 2. He's hit both of them. So now he's got the strong energy for the Rockruff to boot and an N. Yeah, that is an insane turn 1.
Wow. Insane turn 1 from Azul. Terrible prizes from Martin.
You got to imagine he's the favorite here. It'll be interesting to see as well if Azul actually just opts to... He's attached a strong energy to the active Rockruff. Does he just retreat this when he's done with his turn and bring out the Buzzwole, given that Martin will likely have an enhanced hammer for the strong energy anyway?
It depends, because he did discard the Float Stone, so he has 2 left, I believe. You could, but then if Martin just goes Guzma, doesn't really have anything else, it kind of slows your plans. But if he does that, you're in a good position anyway. Yeah,
that's sort of the consideration.
But you could roll the dice, and if you leave it on there, and then next turn you just go Dangerous Rogue, GX with the Bloodthirsty Eyes bringing up anyone, That's also pretty sweet too.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of pretty sweet, Azul was able to find himself a Brooklet Hill and just uses that straight away to bench a Remade from his deck. So actually able to set up his both his support Pokemon a lot earlier than he has been able to do in games 1 and 2. So already just everything going Azul's way right now.
Yeah, basically, if you want to pick up Buzzwole, Lycanroc, and play the deck, this is the kind of turn you want to get.
Absolutely cannot agree more. And after that, Azul just finished. Yeah, I guess that's good enough. I'll pass now. You can have a turn, Martin. Now.
Oh, here we go.
Oh boy.
Bridget looking through. Hey, let's get like my Mewtwo, and there's like this is the part where Mewtwo is really good because Buzzwole has 2 energy on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's looking a little bit faster.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
It is. Maybe just thinking, please, did I make a mistake? Maybe the 2 of the cards got stuck together.
Like, are they in my hand?
Yeah, no, sorry, Martin.
Oh.
Extremely unfortunate for him. Yeah.
Third time going in, like, am I sure? Like,
yeah, Martin, you're sure. You're not seeing things. And right now, he's just deciding.
This is where you write the frowny face in your notes.
Yes, this is exactly what you do. I think I remember, who was it I played against? I played against someone once and they signed, no, it wasn't even someone I was playing against, but someone made a post where they signed a match slip with a frowny face at one point just because
well, famously, John Kettler in finals prized 3 Rowlet, and in his notes he wrote a frowny face.
Good old John Kettler.
And yeah, there we go. Grass Energy on the Wimpod on the bench and a pass. Azul doesn't really know it yet, but he's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, he's not only with a strong turn 1, but as we already mentioned, the sort of very unfortunate turn of events for Martin's side. Now, Azul's just going to attach to the Buzzwole and play a Cynthia after that. It's interesting he opted to attach to the other Buzzwole rather than to the one with energy already on it. Maybe thinking, I don't need to do a Knuckle Impact this turn, so I may as well prepare the other one for a Jet Punch.
Yeah, exactly. Basically spreading out your resources because he doesn't know it, but Martin could just go like, yeah, Mew EX, double colorless Zoroark, take the knockout, you lose 3 energy, and now I'm in the pole position.
Yeah, so it's very clever of him to do that, especially when he recognizes the lack of a need for a Knuckle Impact right now. Off of that Cynthia, he sees nothing crazy.
Does he get the Lycanroc? That's what I want to know.
He didn't. He can use Brooklet Hill to maybe get another Rockruff, or perhaps even Regirock. Is he maybe trying to dig for a KO onto the Wimpod with the Rockruff? I don't think he can reach it right.
No.
It's a wild kick.
Especially attaching to the bench Buzzwole.
Yeah,
kind of just takes out that point. Regirock does come down off that Brooklet Hill, though. The 10 damage doesn't really matter too much, but yeah, like you said, we do see the discard for the retreat.
Yeah, and then just a Jet Punch for 40 to the active, and that's why the Regirock is really important because without that, you'd be 10 short of a 2-hit knockout onto the Wimpod because it does, of course, have 70 HP, so important find, actually, the Regirock from Azul's side. There's a Golisopod too. And what looks to be a Guzma, maybe might be thinking about just taking out that Regirock.
I mean, honestly, take out that Regirock, hope to just spike the Mew and the Mewtwo from the prizes.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Up comes the Regirock and the Golisopod. First impression, will pick up the knockout. I'm
trying to remember where the Mew and Mewtwo were in the prizes.
I think the Mew was in the middle, I want to say. Or no. One was at the bottom, one was at the top. But I can't remember which way round they were.
Oh.
We're going to see now in any case. Well, say now in like a few moments. He's got a Zoroark too, so that's a good start to do some trades, dig a bit further into his deck. Although the only card left in his hand is the double colorless, isn't it? So he might hold off on that.
Yeah, for sure, but he's really relying on these 2 cards.
He got
Mewtwo.
Okay, so that's...
So not as good as the Mew.
No,
but with the 2 energy on the Buzzwole, it definitely helps.
Yeah, so it is something, and especially this Buzzwole's actually been sent active now, so there goes another energy attach and a choice band. So there we go. That's a KO, isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Mewtwo's what? Psychic 20 plus 20 for every energy they have. So he would need Choice Band.
Yeah, no, he would. I meant as in the Buzzwole
Oh,
has the KO.
yeah. Buzzwole has the KO on the Glycepod.
Yeah, but if Martin is able to find a Choice Band, then yeah, absolutely he will be able to take the return knockout now. Well, rather, when Azul takes this knockout on the Glycepod. He's going to, of course, use Brooklet Hill again, and since he has access to it, and what's he actually go for here? Obviously, the Red Rock's gone, so that's no longer an option. Maybe now he goes for the second Rock. Oh no, he's actually going for the Sudowoodo. No, changed his mind. Second Remoraid, perhaps? No,
Let's get all of them.
yeah. It's not quite Brooklet Hill is good, but it's not quite Bridget. Yeah, just maybe thinking to himself that he wants to have access to multiple Bloodthirsty Eyes, and maybe thinking that the Rock Cross might be something that Martin picks off next, just because he recognizes the threats of that ability and what it can do to him.
And it'll be interesting to see if he actually chooses to Absorption or Knuckle Impact. Either take the knockout, but it does look like he just did Knuckle Impact, but now that means next turn he won't be able to attack.
Maybe he's doing that on the basis of thinking, or just assuming that Martin has to return KO, so there's no point in him being able to attack again if it's just going to get knocked out anyway. And so there's a trade.
This is the big trade, but it doesn't look like he got anything he really wanted.
No, that is really not useful at all. There's another double colorless, and he's got an enhanced hammer. He's got...
yeah, unfortunately, he has that Guzma in hand to switch out his Wimpod from the active to the Mewtwo, but the Buzzwole that he would want to target is in the active spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's going to have to play it anyway. There it goes.
And now that Guzma resets that Knuckle Impact, too.
Yeah, so really, really well decided on which attack to use from Azul's side, recognizing, on the basis of what Martin was like to do, that the Knuckle Impact would be absolutely fine to use. So... yeah, now it's going back to Martin's side. He's going to have one look. I believe he used Brooklet Hill himself. Just have a look through his deck. Of course.
It's one thing that I think you should always do is if your opponent plays Brooklet Hill, even if you don't play fighting or water Pokemon, you can still use it. And it gives you access to your deck. And like, all right, like I got to check for this card. And then maybe you forget about it down the line. You're like, I wonder if it's still in my deck.
Yeah, it means that you have more flexibility later on to not have to dedicate as much memory space in your head to what's actually you have access to, because at any point in the game you can just announce Brooklet Hill and look through to make sure that what you had in mind is still correct. And it's the reason why that works is because the contents of the deck are private in Pokemon.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, like you said, if you're playing fighting Pokemon or not. The game state doesn't know that, so you can still announce it and then just look through but fail. Essentially, that's absolutely okay to do.
Speaking of failing, Max Elixir unfortunately did not get a fighting for Azul, but he does get the Lycanroc, bring up that Zorua.
Yeah, Bloodthirsty Eyes.
And an energy on the Lycanroc as well.
That's Lycanroc is starting to become a very, very big threat. There goes a Floatstone and a Sycamore too. So Azul will be able to Jet Punch here, knocking out the Zorua and the Wimpod actually. So we'll be able to take a double KO, and meaning that the whole...
That Regirock coming in clutch with that 40 damage.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like that's why we said earlier it's so important, because it makes the Wimpod being 70 HP is basic. It makes the difference between knocking it out and not. So with that in mind, there's always 2 prizes left to take. Martin has 4, and I mean, you've got to be favouring Azul here, because he's got both a Buzzwole fully ready to go, which can knock out that Zoroark, and even if he didn't have that, he's got a Lycanroc ready to go as well. Yeah, you got to favor Azul here.
Yeah, Azul's just been putting on a clinic this game 3. Thanks in part a lot to Mew EX being prized from Martin as well.
Yeah, without being able to respond properly with that Mew EX, there's just no... Mewtwo is just not as much of a threat as we've discussed earlier. Even if the Buzzwole is fully powered up with free energy, Mewtwo still needs a Choice Band to knock it out. So, if the Buzzwole is fully fresh, so...
I think that's because Mewtwo is a clone of Mew, so Mew's always better.
Yeah, that's how it works. So it would make sense, I guess. As it goes to trade, but I mean, he can trade all he wants. I don't think anything he sees in his deck will be able to pull him out of the situation. Unfortunately, I think Azul just has Martin's number at this point. He has got 2 puzzles at a time, though. What's he going to get here? Be a Wimpod maybe, and
there's not really anything in his discard as well.
No. maybe an N just to try and limit Azul's hand a little bit, but even
I think
that,
he has an N in hand, but he's
okay.
already played his supporter for the turn, right? He played that Cynthia.
Oh yeah, of course, that's what you used to find us in the first place. So does Azul already have the Guzma in his hand? Does he have game ready or not quite?
I honestly can't see from right here, but he has so many outs. He has the Guzma. He also just has an Lycanroc GX as an out.
I would be very surprised to see Martin pull a comeback here, especially given that you have to see that the timer has run out to 0. So there is...
Yeah, we'll see if time was actually called or not. But this game is really just tunneling down. Top deck the Guzma. Doesn't even matter. He's just like, yeah, I got it anyway.
Yeah, and
wow.
Wow. So Azul will take game 3 and take the match, and Martin just showing there,
He's like Mew EX prized and Mewtwo. Like, come on.